Hello there. Welcome back to our maximum weight challenge. Our struggle continues in our quest to retain fourth place. Currently, we're just 2 points ahead of Mercedes, but honestly, here it's not looking very promising. I do believe that we are going to fail at getting fourth place. Luckily, though, the board is pretty much happy with our current, current performance. So for the time being, we're still kind of safe. But we'll have to see if we survive if we do end up fifth this year, and in particular, what the board is going to expect from us next year. Now, we are looking at Belgium in just a couple of days here, but in terms of our research so far, we've actually done not a lot of it, but a decent chunk, I believe. We have basically caught up here for the most part with the underfloor. One more research, and we're basically there with everything, and that should kind of solve the issue. The regulation change here does hit everything for, I believe it is 10%. So we still have a lot of work to do to be able to retain our progress going into next year. But this is going to slow down the AI quite significantly, which is, very beneficial for us. Currently, we are working on a bunch of research here. We have the rear wing and the suspension both ending in 2 and 5 days, basically during race weekend. This one just before race weekend. But we're definitely going to be working as hard as we can on the current parts. We also have engines here that probably are going to be switched out this race weekend. There's just no way around it. They've hit that orange zone where they are very, very useless. But we also do have the yellow engines here that we are going to have to use at one point. So it's kind of a weird scenario where we're in, where we are probably better off using the yellow damage engines because of the fact that it is a sprint weekend. But we'll see what we do. But yeah, that is it. We're going to continue our research here, trying to eliminate the losses as best we can for all the 6 parts. And with that, we're just going to try and speed through the last remainder of the season here, and hopefully get next season, and I would assume the season after that. That's really the only chance we'll have to win the championship, because we do lose quite a lot of performance here with how the car is. This is not really accurate because, well, we just finished a race. The other teams have damage, so we are probably the 6th best car on the grid. But yeah, let's go to Belgium here and see what we can do. For the sprint, we've qualified 5th and 6th thanks to the engines we took. An early spin from Stroll and Leclerc gave us some breathing space, but unfortunately, it wasn't really enough for us to score anything better than 6th and 8th. The race itself did not start out well for Ocon, who rapidly found himself further down the grid. We got helped a bit by a crash between Hulkenberg and Leclerc. We're chasing down Gasly in 6th. Our strategy choice for this race is an aggressive one-stopper with aggressive medium into an attack hard. Unfortunately, the one-stopper did not really work out in our favor, and we did end up 9th and 12th. Things did also get worse due to Russell's result pushing Mercedes ahead of us. They're now up by 2 points. So we have one of the better events you can get here. We can reduce the number of factory events that we have scheduled. Yes, 3 extra days of manufacturing, I'll take that. We also have a triple scouting here complete. We've scouted Russell, we have scouted Hamilton, and we've also scouted Norris. Norris is a little bit more left on his contract than the other 2, but the idea here is very simple. I think we might need to switch out Ocon. Which is kind of silly to say. He has high smoothness, he has high accuracy, he has high everything. And honestly, if we go ahead here and compare the drivers, as you see, Gasly wins out on virtually everything but reactions and accuracy. And generally, he does perform better than Ocon as of the current... Well, currently, let's just put it like that. And as a result here, well, he doesn't really perform better in terms of points. But I do think we need to maybe upgrade our drivers a little bit. And stat-wise, Ocon is the worst driver, even though he has actually scored more points, which is a funny thing. And in terms of the performance here, let's take a look and compare him to... Okay, I can't actually compare Russell to the driver I want to compare him to, but he has 9 points more braking, he has higher control, he has almost maxed adaptability, which is a useless stat. Well, it's not useless. It's very useful when you're in the changing of the, rain to dry, dry to rain. But other than that, not very helpful. He's still a vastly better driver just purely due to the braking. he is lacking smoothness, but that we can deal with. And the reason again why I kind of want to do this change of drivers is just to get a little bit of an upgrade here. But honestly, if we're gonna go for a straight upgrade, Norris, although he lacks accuracy, is probably gonna be a best bet. One of his lowest stats is adaptability. He has high, stats here. They have equal reactions, better cornering, better braking, better control. Smoothness is higher, which is probably one of the most important driver stats. I can't actually understate that in this game, 23. We'll have to see if that's the case in 24. And I am starting to see that to get this maximum weight challenge done, we are probably going to need to take every single advantage that we can get our hands on. And in this case, upgrading our drivers is one of them. Now, Hamilton here, let's face it, is probably not going to be someone we pick up. Purely due to the fact that he's expensive, honestly. And to be fair, he is probably going to be a little faster. Well, not a lot faster. He's probably going to be faster in theory than Norris. But I do want to kind of pick up Norris here. And he is open to negotiation, which means that we can potentially pick him up. And if we really wanted to, we can also pick up Russell. But I think I'm going to, sit on it a little bit, think about it until the end. Ocon has performed decently here, let's be perfectly honest. He hasn't performed terrible. Scored 51 points in the first season. He's scored 74 points so far. And if we compare him to Gasly here, first season, Gasly did perform worse than him. So you could argue that we should get rid of Gasly. But stat-wise, Gasly should be more reliable. And that's kind of why I want to keep him and upgrade Ocon, honestly. It's kind of a weird spot, though, because both of them are actually pretty good. But Gasly does beat Ocon on pace stats. And that's kind of what I want to upgrade. So we'll see. It kind of also feels personally that maybe I'm just getting rid of Ocon to get rid of Ocon. Because purely from a performance standpoint, Ocon would be the better choice. But we do see stats in this game. Honestly, if we did not see stats, I'd probably keep Ocon simply because he has performed better. But again, it's kind of hard to really judge who's better to keep. But this number gives you a pretty good point. And then we take into account things like adaptability, which also Gasly has almost maxed. And then maybe, just maybe, we keep Ocon instead. We'll have to see, though. I'm still undecided. But upgrading our drivers is one thing that we might have to do. And honestly, even if we do keep on developing Hajal, we're giving him a lot of first practice P1 showings. I don't think he's going to develop fast enough that he's going to be in the car in 1.5 seasons time. So yeah, we might end up upgrading to potentially a double upgrade, Russell and Norris. As that would also, weaken our rivals a little bit, but we'll have to see. We're going to make that decision towards the end of the season. Now, we have the break now going before the Dutch Grand Prix, and we have also started a couple of new research, the rear wing and the suspension again, but both of those should be fine. And honestly, we are kind of ready here to just go directly to the Netherlands and see what we can do. Our bad luck continues with our cars coming together, leading to an Ocon DNF. Ocon was found to be at fault, meaning we get a penalty next race, and towards the end of the race itself, as Gasly is chasing down the Mercs, they have an incident with the Williams involving both of their cars. Hamilton gets sent out while Russell suffers some small damage, and due to the incident, Gasly is able to easily overtake them both and finish nicely in 8th place. This result also brings us square again with the Mercedes. So unfortunately, last time around in Sandworth, we had Ocon and Gasly come together, with Ocon being found at fault. Clearly, he heard my talk about the scouting and decided that he needed to one-up Gasly, but it is a shame because the car is probably pretty wrecked, I would think. The ERS was already broken, but the gearbox and the engine were fairly new. And I'm kind of scared to take a look because we now have an ERS in broken condition. So, yeah, gearbox got broken too. Luckily, it seems the engine is fine-ish. Okay, we lost about 12% on that. We lost about 20% on the ERS and gearbox. I'm not really sure. But this definitely has been a bit of a negative impact, let's put it like that. It's expensive to crash, really expensive, let's be honest. So we would like, for the most part, to avoid such incidents where we can. But we're just going to have to do what we can now to replace the damaged parts, manufacture new ones, which honestly shouldn't be a big deal. Just making sure that we don't emergency manufacture anything, because sometimes day after races, you still have an engine, sorry, a factory event going. So you can still get in heaps of trouble. Let's put it like that. But yeah, what we are going to have to do here is replace ERS and replace gearbox. What I think we do here is that we replace it into this bad one, and then we use the fresh one for quali. Because honestly, we need a new gearbox anyways before we go to the next race weekend. And we are going to have to get a new ERS, as mentioned. We'll just use this one up during practice. Should just about survive, but we are going to have to take a penalty at the next race weekend. And for Gasly here, we're probably getting to the point where honestly taking an ERS penalty for him too would be beneficial to just give us a little bit of a result here with the healthy engine that we still have. So we might as well go ahead and take the penalty for him as well. Monza, not really the best place, but there is a lot of DRS zones. We should be able to come back. So not the best, but also not the worst. We'll deal with that. And well, I did check a little bit later on. We're basically now 13th to 15th in these three stats. So the car is definitely becoming worse and worse compared to our opponents because they are still designing. We're just researching. And well, while we're square with Mercedes now, I doubt that'll last long. And the Williams with Tsunoda and Albon are looking a little bit scary. They could actually get us by the end of this year. But yeah, let's head to Italy here, see if we can fix the issues that we have now run into. Before we go to Monza though, we got probably one of the best events you can get in this game, which is the Design Center Improvement. The worry here is that the condition will decline into, the third bar here before we can take full advantage of it, but we'll at least be able to do 2 more extra research projects, probably more, potentially 4 extra projects as a result of this event. So we will, of course, approve the budget for 45 days. It's literally one of the best events that you can get, particularly when you're trying to do research. We can only pray that we get it next year as well. Now with that, we are going to do a little bit extra here on the underfloor, because we basically have covered the underfloor off. I don't think there's any thing more here really to gain. We have, what I mean by cover off, let me just say that first. We basically covered off the regulation change here. Basically, we're going to keep these stats going into next year, so everything is looking good in that regard. Honestly, we probably don't need to do any more research on the underfloor. This is just a little bit of an extra gain due to the fact that we have extra slots. Now, chassis and side pods do need a lot of research. They're kind of lagging behind everything hard, which is kind of how things go when I play, to be fair. So not really much we can do about that. We're just going to have to try and make the best out of it, boost them as much as possible with the remaining time that we have this season. But we did use CFD on front wing. We have used CFD on the underfloor. So once these 2 researches are done, we're basically done with researching both the underfloor and the front wing this year. That's at least the idea. And if you take a look at the underfloor here, we're going to lose a little bit out in high speed, but that's not really a big deal. High speed is already 85%. So that's fine. Airflow sensitivity, again, it is nice to have, but not vital. I'd rather have more cornering or downforce, or not in this case. So honestly, this final underfloor research is going to solve that issue. For the front wing, as I did say, we use CFD time. Everything here is already done. So once we do one more front wing research, we can leave that behind. We can start focusing a little bit on side pod chassis, bringing them up to where the rest of the car is. So both of these are solved. We're probably going to use the remaining CFD time on the rear wing and the suspension. So we have plans. Let's see if we can actually get the research done and make a good car for next year as well. For Monza, we take a new ERS for both cars, meaning we start in 16th and 17th after penalties. There's also going to be some rain towards the end of the race, with both Inters and West being in contention. That's going to make things a bit interesting. And here we are. We have gotten to the interesting bit. Rain arrives in 4 minutes, kind of where we expected. And we actually have had a bit of an interesting twist there, where Russell was actually running in a podium position, which is now held by Bottas and Albon. scarily enough. With Hulkenberg in 7th, we have Tsunoda in 9th, and honestly, not taking the penalties here could probably have benefited us massively. The incident between Leclerc and Verstappen also didn't really, help anyone. But what we have now is rain in 4 minutes, and honestly, we have kind of run these cars just very standard to kind of save them. We ran down fuel like we usually do in these situations. And the goal right now is probably just going to be for Ocon to overtake
So there's still a threat of rain.
Hamilton here and try and create a little bit of a gap before we pit for Inters. And honestly, for Gasly, the goal here is just going to be get away from the cars hunting us. We have Sainz, we have Russell, basically just right behind us. And while Russell is running, well, both of them are running terrible tires, we should be able to kind of survive the pressure here and hopefully create a little bit more of a gap before we do end up pitting, as Ocon and Hamilton is duking it out. So there is some plans there is some hope, but the fact that Albon could potentially score a podium here in his fight with Bottas is scary. Verstappen is high enough up though that it shouldn't be an issue, but as you can imagine, there is a little bit of concern here with how these teams now are kind of set up, and we do kind of need to deal with our fuel issues a little bit at the moment as well. Rain is starting here, and it is coming up fairly rapidly here. 20 millimeters from basically this corner to here. Let's see if we get another 20, maybe 30 by the time we hit over here. And that seems to be correct, about 25. So do we pit this lap? I think we pit one of them, Ocon, who's running first. It is going to be Inters for basically the next 15 or so laps, and then we go wets to the end. So what I'm thinking here is that we get Ocon in first, although Ocon has high adaptability. Obviously, Dan Gasly, one of them does. But Ocon's running first, he's going to get priority here. We're going to get him in on the Inters on this lap, because it is going up really, really rapidly. And as far as I can see here, there is no double stacking from these guys. So, well, actually there is between Stroll and Alonso, but the gap is big enough that it won't matter. So we're going to gamble on allowing Gasly to do another lap. There's just no way around that, I think. And interestingly enough, Russell does the same. So we kind of have that pit fight right now between Ocon and Hamilton. And Ocon does come out ahead. So we do win the pit stop. Careful. Albon has actually fallen pretty far back as well here, as you can see. Bottas is still at third at the moment, I believe. Maybe Perez can get him. But yeah, we did win out a little bit in the pits here for Ocon. And the main thing now is going to be not cook these tires, but we're already at 90 millimeters. That's not going to be a big deal. We're going to allow him to run attack because, as mentioned, we don't expect to be on these tires very long. So running attack, keeping ourselves safe is going to be the key. And Gasly is probably going to lose out a little bit because we did get a little bit of wet running. So I'm very curious exactly where Gasly is going to come out. Clean pit stop. We do beat Russell out of the pits, which is key in our fight with Merc. And honestly, doing an extra lap here did kind of benefit us in almost the best way possible. But we did unnecessarily break there at the exit, I feel. Gasly could have beat both Sainz and Hamilton, and that would actually have been amazing if he could have pulled that off. But yeah, we'll see here if we can do something now, just as we come out, take a little bit of advantage of the fact that they're running close. And if not, we're going to have to try and jump them once we switch tires again onto the full wets. Norris currently in a podium position, Bottas in fourth. Luckily enough, Albon, as I mentioned, had a bad stop and is less of a threat. But we'll have to see what we can do with Gasly, if we can get him further up, and if we can defend against Hamilton. What happened? So things are going well. For Ocon at least, he is making his way up here. And as you can see, he has gotten Albon just now, which is good. Brings him up to 8th place. And if he keeps this up, he could actually get up to a potential podium position here, because Norris is actually holding everyone up in a pretty insane way. Now, unfortunately, Gasly haven't had the same kind of luck that Ocon has had. He's actually gotten overtaken here by Russell, and we're going to have to try and get that place back, take a little bit of risk. But Ocon here could potentially, he's also taking a little bit of risk, get Hulkenberg and then start working and try and get maybe Bottas and the trio here going into the wet pit stop because it's not far away here. As you can see, we'll have to see if we're actually gonna do a wet pit stop though, because it's gonna be very few laps, maybe 5 or so, and that might just be a little bit too few really to mess around with to get that done. But if we can, we're gonna try. And we're also getting closer now to the maximum temp, which is 105 degrees. So we'll have to see. We are taking a little bit of a risk here with Ocon, but it is a risk that did not pay off, as you can see. And he does actually allow the others ahead of him. So shame. We kind of did get it done there for the most part. And then we unfortunately kind of threw it away. Got a little bit too aggressive. And we'll have to deal with the tire heat and things like that. But we'll have to see if we can gamble on wets. There's still an opportunity. Let's see what we can do. And the rain has begun here. 2.83, 84. It's going up. And honestly, I think we'll do one more lap. But what we could do here is gamble on putting one car in now, lap 47. And we actually have Stroll and Alonso both double stacking again. Magnussen and Rick has already jumped in. And if you look at this order here of cars, it is potentially worth it to gamble. Honestly, 3 points is currently, not even 3 points, 1 point is what we're currently set up for. So I'm thinking we get Gasly in. Unfortunately, he's ahead of Ocon. We're gonna get Gasly in here, and we'll see if we can maybe jump some of the other cars with Ocon here potentially, as he just gets a little bit overtaken there by Russell. Can we fight that back is the big question. Maybe. Just maybe. Fortunately, we did not fight that back. But yeah, we're going to gamble here on the wets. Last 5 laps. And honestly, for Gasly, we're going to deploy. We do still have a little bit of fuel issue that we need to deal with. But let's see exactly what Gasly can do now. He does come out behind both Hulkenberg and Albon. And Ocon there with a bit of slower stop. He's actually going to get pretty jumped here. So, did not pay out for us. There is still an interrun in Hamilton, in Russell. And honestly, it might pay off for them to stay out here. We'll have to see, though. But yeah, Gasly, I need you to pull off some pretty amazing overtakes here. You are high on the aggression. Can you get it done? Or are we out here? Out of the points. It was an actually interesting run, as Russell does pit and does get jumped by both cars. So that does leave us a little bit safer. But as you can see that, we couldn't actually get the job done with Hulkenberg. So we're going to fall back a little bit here. We're going to cool down the tires. We're going to recharge and try and launch an attack on the last few laps here. Because what's going to happen now, I think, is Norris is going to hold everyone up again. So we still have a chance. Hamilton does decide to pit there, putting us back in the points. Let's see if we can get a little bit more than just 1 point on the Mercs. We're on the final lap here, and we are chasing down Hulkenberg. Unfortunately, it looks like he has done just about enough to stay safe. Bottas 5th, Albon 8th, so we do have some potential problems here, as mentioned, but could I have done better here? Yeah, definitely. It's just a bit of an issue with timings. If we had gone on the west maybe a lap earlier, we could have benefited. But 10th and 11th, we beat the Mercs. We're going to be ahead of them. Is okay, but as mentioned, the Williams here is a little bit concerning. So we'll have to see if we can hold on. Yeah, point here for Gasly. I guess that's good enough. Bit of a shame here that we had to take those penalties, honestly. And if we take a look at constructors here now, we do move up ahead of Merc with that point. Williams got 4 here, and Alpha, McLaren, both teams scoring good points. And honestly, Williams looked more dangerous than they actually were. So we're still going to have a pretty close fight until the end. And if we have Williams, Alpha, and McLaren stealing some points, might actually help us in the fight with Mercedes. We'll see, though. In Singapore, both Mercs ended up taking penalties, giving us an opportunity to score some important points. Unfortunately for us, they quickly caught up and then benefited even more when Stroll and Leclerc caused a safety car. And with the Mercs finishing 2nd and 5th, we are probably out of the fight for 4th here, and Albon created some drama for us by crashing in the final corner on the final lap, giving us a single point to take home this weekend. So with 7 races now remaining, including this Japanese Grand Prix, we have a little bit of a problem here with our car parts. They are starting to wear out. Now, what I am thinking is that we're probably going to end up buying an extra engine for basically both cars to try and score some points towards the end. So I think what the plan here is basically I need to score some points towards the end so the board won't fire me. The cost capture a lot of this. So what we're going to do here at Suzuka, probably also at Qatar, and also probably in Austin, next 3 out of the last remaining races, probably going to use basically some one components, going to end up with some worse results as a result of that. But I think it's going to be worth it in the end. We'll buy a new engine. We'll use the ERS that is somewhat fresh. We'll use the gearbox that is somewhat fresh. And we're also going to go ahead here and you do the same for Gasly. And again, the player is just to try and score some points in the last 4 races and keep the board happy enough to not potentially fire me. So that's going to be the play. Let's see how we do here in Japan, how we do in Qatar, and how we do in Texas. I do believe that we're not going to score a single point over the next 3 races, but fingers crossed, let's see how it goes. Suzuka, we had yet another crash favoring the Mercs, and with them once again finishing high up in the standings, 2nd and 4th. 4th place in the Constructors is definitely impossible for us at this point. We finished 10th and 11th, once again just securing a single point. So, as you can see here, the sprint went terrible for us. We ended up 17th and 18th, but we are running past that literally would be better fit for the trash heap. Now, Russell and Tsunoda had a red flag incident, hence why everyone did a stop, but even before that, we were running last, so no big surprise there. Albon still managed to score some points for Williams. They are a little bit spooky. Magnussen scored a point here for Haas, even a point for AlphaTauri. But what I think we're going to do now is actually start getting those new components. And we're going to do 2 things here. We're going to get new components. That is number 1. And in this case, we're going to get a new engine for both cars. Now, cost cap wise, we still have plenty of it, quote unquote, remaining, but probably won't have too much of it after this again, because we're going to buy an engine for Gasly here. We are going to gamble on this ERS being enough for run the last 4 race weekends. And we're also going to probably get another gearbox, although let's be fair, if we're only running races, this might be enough. We are taking a penalty anyways. It's just $1 million. So I think we are going to take that cost here of just getting an extra gearbox to be on the safe side. I think we would be fine, but I just want to be absolutely certain that we don't have to take any penalties that we don't need over the course of the last, remnants of the season. So another new gearbox there for Ocon, as well as a new engine. And again, this is just so we might be able to snatch a few points and, keep our board happy. And we can actually take a look here on just how terrible our car has become over the course of the, last races here. We are 17th, 19th, 17th, and 19th. So we are second worst and worst in cornering. The only bonus we have for us is that we're still the best DRS team. We are 7th in top speed. We are the worst team for acceleration as well. So this car is absolutely trash at this point. So even with this, we're probably not going to be able to score too many points. We can probably take advantage of other cars having damaged components, and that's kind of what we're hoping for. Now, we are probably going to have to take an additional ERS here for Ocon. But that's going to be about it. If they crash, they're going to have to drive a terrible car till the end. The reason why we're going to have to take an extra ERS here for Ocon is simply because he doesn't have anything extra to use. And we're also going to go back to switching components between practice and qualifying. It's going to hurt our pit crew because we gain more fatigue, but I think it's going to be worth it in the sense that we just need to try and do our best here to snatch some extra points. That's really all this is. Now, we're also going to go over to a very aggressive strategy here where we're going to just start on the medium tire. We're going to burn it, try and get as many overtakes done early as we can, pit early, and then try and use the fresh medium to catch up a little bit more to the back of the grid. In theory, it should allow us to, catch up a little bit towards them. And that's kind of the hope here. It's slightly quicker than this strategy, but let's face it. Well, that strategy is slightly quicker. But again, we're just going to try and make our way through the grid here. We're going to try and pit early and then use the fresh medium to hopefully get some free passes while the other teams do pit. So, Coda here, eating the penalties. We are not going to be starting 15 and 16, I can tell you that. We have, well, 3 penalties, 2 penalties. So, let's see what we can do here. We'll take a look at the cost cap after the race as well. But, yeah, the last 4 races here, not really counting this one, the last 4 races after Coda here could really, really decide my fate. I think I'll be safe and not be fired, but it remains to be seen. The board did show up for one of our races, so yeah, I could be in for a rough time ahead. And next season is going to be even more interesting in that regard. So yeah, we see ourselves all the way at the back. Let's see if we can move ourselves a little bit upwards in the near future. So just to give you an idea about how this strategy works, as you can see, we pitted far earlier than anyone else, and most cars have yet to pit, Albon being an exception, same with Alonso. But we're about to see the pit bonanza here for most teams, and currently, with the exception of Leclerc and Verstappen, we're actually running faster than most other cars out there. So we are gaining, and in theory, once a lot of these cars potentially, if we take a look at leader here, we're currently 38 seconds behind. We could potentially jump up here to, say, 5th place once Stroll actually starts pitting, although 2 cars have pitted before us, so say 7th place. And as you can imagine, that can be quite a cheap gain of places, and that's kind of the idea behind doing pit stops like this. Unfortunately for Gasly, he was a little bit too slow there to get Stroll, but we might be able to get ourselves in the points even while starting at the back here, due to the tire difference. Of course, we're going to be losing out again towards the end of this, but for now, it is definitely working out in our favor. So, final lap has begun, and while the strategy did not really pay out for us here, we could potentially still have a bit of an attack from Ocon. He's trying to chase down both Rick and Alonso, and currently both AlphaTauris are actually in the points. Albon is up in 4th, which is again horrible for us, because at this rate, Williams is actually going to potentially overtake us. We have still a healthy lead, but we'll take a look at it after the race here. But, yeah, honestly, the car is really, really bad, to the point where I might need to next year, just as a safety precaution, make a lightweight underfloor that we're not going to be using, but basically just one that I can have in case we end up in a situation where, say, the board wants to fire me, because, yeah, the car right now is not very, very good at all. That is a bit of a problem. So 11th there for Ocon, which is not great. Gasly here is going to come in 15th. But it's a good recovery, and if we can switch back and forth on the components for the rest of the year, we might still have a good chance at least scoring a couple of points by the end of it. Now, with Albon finishing 4th here, that's another 12 points for Williams. And if we take a look at the Driver Championship, we're still 9th and 10th. Ocon's contract is still running out, and as I said, we might just need to try and get a little bit of a better driver, even though currently he is outperforming Gasly. So it's a bit of a tough choice. But yeah, Alpine here, there's just 60 points now between us and Williams. It's just 4 races to go, one of them being a sprint weekend. But if Williams keep on getting 15 points or so, then we are in a little bit of danger. We haven't scored a point now in quite a few races, and for a team that has a podium and 3 fastest laps, it's not looking very good. Haas here almost ended up in danger of AlphaTauri as well, but as I mentioned here, the board is not very happy with me. We'll take a look at the cost cap. We'll take a look at how things currently stand, because as I mentioned, things aren't great. We're also getting to that point where we need to invest a little bit in our facilities. We're in October. We have November, December, so a little bit over, not really 90 days, but we're at 75. So we have a couple of things that we want to do before we continue. First and foremost, the board confidence has fallen down to medium. As you can expect, they have been disappointed lately. They are still happy with the fact that we did the 2023 objective, which is keeping them, away from firing me. But as mentioned here, we might need next year to just make a couple of lightweight components, lightweight underfloor, lightweight something else really, that we aren't going to use unless we get fired and need to kind of use it. Basically just a precaution. But we'll have to see how we do it to start next season. This start of this season did seem promising, but then everything kind of fell apart. So it's tough to say. I haven't done anything like this before. It's a first for me too, and that makes things kind of difficult. So we have 3 months left. We're going to do research, of course. 14 million is projected now left of the cost cap. We're going to have to try and make our best with that. Can give sponsors a VIP experience here, but I'm just going to deny that because it's not worth the risk, honestly. And also, we do have money, so yeah, we don't want to do that. And as I mentioned, we're going to be taking care of these powertrain components because we're going to go back to the old strategy where you save components by using bad ones in practice. And it's going to hurt the pit crew. It's going to hurt pit crew training pretty drastically, but it's going to help our performance with, quite a bit as well. Particularly now when we are struggling to even score a point. Now, with that said, currently also, the research project here, we still have an extra slot, but it's going to vanish the second it's basically once this rail wing is done, that slot goes away. So we're going to have to wait 8 more days until we get a new project started, and that is probably going to be the last CFD period for the suspension is what I'm thinking. If we take a quick look here on the research again, just thought we'd have a little bit of an update. Suspension is the only one we haven't used CFD on yet, but it already has a lot of it done, which is nice. Underfloor is caught up fully now. We have a little bit on airflow sensitivity, but it's going to be better next year. Side pods still need some work. Rear wing, we are CFDing this thing right now, but it's already basically caught up, so that's going to get a pretty huge boost. And the front wing here, caught up, more so than caught up. It's going to be a pretty significant gain next year, I think. Chassis as well. Chassis and side pods basically need a little bit more work, but the 4 big components are looking very, very good. And as I said, we might just end up switching Ocon out. His contract is running out, which is one of the reasons why I want to do so. And Norris is an incredibly tempting option. Now, before we go, I do want to take a look at this rowing research and just how much it is giving us. So 5% airflow sensitivity, you get 5% DRS delta, over 5% of drag reduction, 0.12 kilonewtons of low speed, which translates to 6%, 6%, 5%. So 5 to 6% across the board. And with that, if we take that into account of the research that we've already done, I believe that brings the rail wing to a really, really good spot. So 12 kilonewtons in medium, 12 kilonewtons in low speed. Both of these should be 24. About 6 here, so even this one is getting a little bit of a sizable boost up to 11. And then 5% here and here. So we're not really getting anything more in terms of drag reduction and DRS delta, but we are getting a little bit more cornering on the rail wing going into next year. So that is good. But yeah, for the rest of the year, the focus is going to be chassis. It's going to be side pods. We're going to do CFD on the suspension, and I'm a little bit unsure what we're going to use the last slot for. We might do a little bit more rear wing, try and get a little bit more cornering on that. That could be an important thing, but it is open to. I'm a little bit unsure, basically. But so far, we have 4 races left. We have Mexico, we have Brazil, then we have Las Vegas, and finally Abu Dhabi. Let's see if we can snatch a couple more points and keep the board a little bit happy as we go into the next season. So we are nearing the end here of the Mexican Grand Prix, and our strategy has kind of borne fruit. Unfortunately, Gasly here has had a couple of incidents where he ran wide, and that has cost him, both in terms of his confidence, which is luckily now back to very high, but it did cost him in his fight against Ocon. Now, we have another more concerning thing to worry about, and that is the Williams running 4th and 5th. Verstappen has failed us, Hamilton has failed us, Stroll and Alonso has failed us, and the Williams are actually looking at a good haul of points there. 4th and 5th would give them, unless my math is wrong, an additional 22 points there as the final lap starts. So, as you can imagine, at this point for us, every point is kind of vital in a scary way, and I think we start attacking a little bit too soon so that, car behind gets DRS in terms of Ocon versus Alonso. So, yeah, this is kind of a hard one. Yeah, we definitely screw that up. Alonso got a second helping of DRS. We do have a little bit of extra fuel here that we can use, but yeah, we might actually lose 5th place as well if things keep on going like this. There's still 3 races remaining, don't get me wrong. But the fact that Williams is this scary is concerning to say the least, as Ocon does a very, very nice move there in the final corner. Question is it going to be enough with... sorry for blocking that. It was not enough. They got it on the inside line. Gasly comes in to 12th place, 15 seconds behind. And as mentioned there, probably should keep Ocon over Gasly at this point. But the contracts are another issue altogether. So yeah, just 1 point for us here. 20 plus points for the Williams team does put us in a very, very awkward position. And yeah, 3 races, 40 points. I'm scared. I'm scared because the Williams team have been pretty quick. So let's see how the board felt about that one. I think they're still going to be fairly disappointed in us, but there wasn't a lot of penalties taken this race. So I think as other teams are going to be eating more penalties, we'll have better chances of maybe nabbing a point or so. Now, in terms of cars here, we're going to take a look at that too before we go into Brazil. We have chassis and sidepod research finishing tomorrow. We're going to just restart those immediately. Because as you can imagine, we would really, really like to just do another one. So let's get sidepod in here. Still 6 days until we get to next safety period. And drag... I think we're going to do it like this. Airflow front. It would be nice to get this stat up. But it's really not a huge priority. It's just going to, you know, redistribute the cornering a little bit. So we're going to focus on getting that engine cooling up so we can sacrifice it on the final piece. Basically, we want to do this on the final one to get more performance from the other stats. And we're going to go ahead here and also do that chassis research. And we're kind of going to do the same thing here. Honestly, I don't need to do this. I should have just kept everything in the middle. But on the chassis, everything is kind of important. And, well, I could do this. We're kind of doing the same logic as we're doing on sideboards. When we design this piece, we want to be able to drag this slider all the way to the left, still have a decent amount of engine cooling, and get a little bit of extra performance into both drag reduction and airflow by doing so. So that's kind of the hope. We'll have to see if we can pull that off. And for the suspension here, the last safety period, we're going to be starting that in 23 days. But as I mentioned, what I kind of wanted to take a quick look at here before we go into the final race, or not the final race, before we go to Brazil, is the Williams car, because it has been incredibly quick over the last few race weekends. So let's go car analysis. Again, this is going to be very sad reading for us. 16th, 18th, 7th, 1st. So again, the car is pretty bad. And if we compare it to the Williams right now, they are 7th, 7th, and 1st. They've actually made a car that is a danger. Yeah, they actually have a podium-worthy car at this point. 5th, 9th. Yeah, we're in danger. They only have 4 extra kilograms. This is probably the best, the lowest value I've seen a AI go to, I think. Haas is still 16 kilograms. 12, 10, 9.4. We're at 40, of course. Mercedes is at 14, 15, 10, 13, 7.8. So Ferrari should be doing way better than they are. 6, 4th, and they're getting beaten by a team that is technically worse than them. So yeah, Ferrari's disappointing us a little bit here, but honestly, the Williams car is good enough that it is actually real danger. We might need to step in and do something. And I did forget to do this last time around. I did say we needed to start working on our facilities. That's not wrong. This is actually just going to be done in time, just barely. So let's get the car part test center upgraded. Let's get the suspension sim. I think this one might be a little bit late, but it is what it is. It's my fault for forgetting it. And we're also going to go ahead and just get the design center up to level 3. We're going to probably have to go for a level 5 design center in the final season, which is going to be the, you know, reset season, if you will. Just going to go ahead and refurbish the race sim, because that's actually quite important. And with the money that we've used, we're now down to 32.6 million. We're going to refurbish the helipad, although there isn't really a huge need for that, because, let's face it, we're not really doing a lot of sponsor objectives at this point. But yeah, let's see if we can survive the last 3 races here against the Williams charge. And we're still medium satisfied, happy, satisfied, so for now, I'm safe. The Brazil Sprint ended with us in 10th and 11th, with luckily no points for the Williams. Right after we did our first pit stop for the race, Hulkenberg had an incident that led to a virtual safety car. giving the rest of the grid a cheaper pit stop by 7 seconds. We also have yet another incident where our cars make contact, this time with no penalty given, and the contact puts both of them out of the points. 4 laps before the end of the race, Ocon gets involved in yet another incident, knocking him out of the points and awarding him a penalty. We end the race in 10th, with the Williams getting the benefit of 7th and 9th after our internal issues, and Williams do look kind of dangerous going towards the end of the season. After Brazil, Ocon's redemption story has a rough end here, as you can see that he has yet again found the wall, and unfortunately red flagged the race as both he and Norris is out, and he was running with Leclerc and Stroll before this for a potential 5th place. He actually qualified 6th and was able to get into a good DRS train. Gasly was not as lucky, he qualified a couple of places down. Well, in reality, Ocon qualified 9th, Gasly 11th, but some penalties pushed Ocon up 3 places. So, quite unfortunate, but we have an incident that I guess we should actually blame on Norris, but it did lead to Ocon being taken out, it did lead to a red flag, and another good chance of scoring points for us here has just been straight up thrown away, and it's very frustrating that this has been happening with Ocon pretty consistently this season. Although you could argue that he has been the one that has been bringing home the good results and the points, he's also been the one that has kind of thrown it away, if you will, when the opportunity has arisen. So we are ready to restart here. It is just 3 laps. It is going to be full push. We are going to take the risk here, put overtake aggression too high, and see what Gasly can do. Not the best of starts here, or maybe I was wrong. He does at least get side by side with Hamilton here, and not only that, but Ocon also does eat a penalty, so I was wrong. Norris wasn't to blame. It was in fact Ocon as well. And Piastri has pulled off a crash here on the restart. Is this going to be a virtual safety car, a full safety car maybe?
Clearly unable to take evasive action. Thankfully,
no, he's still moving. He should be okay. Yeah, frustration is building at the moment with yet another chance of points being just straight up thrown away here. And Piastri is basically in puncture territory after scraping the wall. Same can be said for Rick. But they should be able to survive this restart, and we do actually have a small tire advantage over Hamilton, as we'll be looking on now for this final lap. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get anything done here. Tsunoda is going to get a 5th place, or maybe even better for Williams, which puts us in an even worse spot. Yeah, Ocon has not been having a good last few races here. We did have an amazing chance of points that we now have just unfortunately thrown away yet again. And Piastri is actually straight out. I assume he has parked in the pits, as I don't see any sort of flag out there. Yeah, we are trying on Hamilton. Just can't get the move done. We just don't have enough speed with that DRS, which isn't that surprising. Our car is pretty bad when it doesn't have anything to help it. We're about now to cross the line for the final lap. Tsunoda scores the 5th here. Albon scores the 10th. And with that, I believe we're actually in danger now before the final race in Abu Dhabi. We'll take a quick look at that. But the board actually sent me a message before this race as well that we're about to get punished. And I misremembered. It was actually 12th and 9th, I think. But yeah, Ocon started higher up. Couldn't capitalize. Honestly, was in the running for a podium for a while, which I was kind of surprised with. Bottas ended up taking that 4th place instead. This could have been us. So, yeah, pretty frustrating. Just 2 points for us and another 11 for the Williams pair. And that puts them now just 24 points behind us. All we need in Abu Dhabi to lose 5th place is just a couple of unfortunate crashes, which there has been a lot of this season, I will add. But there isn't really too much that we can do about it at this point. We're just gonna have to try and deal with it, honestly, because there's no other way around it. Race Sim has been refurbished, and let's see here. We got a destroyed chassis, pretty straightforward. We can just replace it. Front wing, not surprising. We can go ahead and replace that one as well. The question here is, do I think we're going to destroy a front wing at the next race weekend? I'm hoping we don't, but I can't guarantee anything. But I think we're just going to not manufacture anything else at this point because we kind of need to use our budget to do some research. We are kind of getting there. Again, don't look at this. It's not realistic because the other teams have not repaired their cars yet. But I do believe that we are going to probably try and snatch a different driver. Most likely we'll go for Norris. I feel like he is one of the better options, as Gasly now too has hit the 90 mark. I think Norris is a good option as he is the youngest of the higher rated drivers and he does have potential to grow. So yeah. Of the ones that are interested in us, Russell no longer interested. Norris is not interested. I believe it's because it's too close to season start and that's sad. I guess we're gonna have to end the season first, so technically just get that last race done and then we can look for a new driver. But yeah, we'll have to try and get through this final race here now in Abu Dhabi without giving up 24 points to Williams. Let's see what we can do. Although, we do actually have the suspension research coming in here in just a couple of days, so I might as well get that final research going, which is going to be with safety time. Final safety time is going to be used on the suspension. And what I think we're going to do is actually use it mainly on... Honestly, doing it like this too isn't too terrible. I would love to boost, honestly, a little bit of speed gain. Not really a lot of it, though. So I think we might do this, and then we'll just work in top speed next year. Because we do need to get as much cornering as we can, really, out of the pieces that have cornering. So we're going to do this. Not really the best way to get it done, but it will work. And we'll actually get it for Christmas, the 24th of December. So that's it. That is it. The only other two research projects that will get done in time is probably another chassis, another side pod. We'll try and use engineers to maybe get 2 more projects out of it, but I think that will be difficult. But yeah, let's head to Abu Dhabi and the season finish.
For our drivers to fight it out.
We are ready now for Abu Dhabi, the race. Qualifying has actually gone our way here, but of course we do have good penalties that we need to serve for Ocon after his penalty last time around. But 4th starting position here for Gasly, 7th for Ocon. And he did, of course, destroy his gearbox last time around. And it didn't have any spares as we have been using them. So, yeah, not a good look. So, Gasly here does have the better car. Ocon has a little bit better ERS. But generally here, we should be fine. I did go overkill here on the gearbox, I'll be honest. We didn't actually need an extra one. We could have rationed these 3 probably a little bit better. But it's just $1 million, and we're going to stay clear of the cost cap this year, so I'm not too concerned. Now, in terms of strategy here, generally a 3-stopper is advisable. Sorry, not a 3-stopper, a 2-stopper. 3 stints is advisable. And what I'm thinking of doing here is going to be a little bit silly. Because what I'm thinking is that we save the soft for the final stint, so we actually have something that we can potentially fight with. And softs on this place work really, really well. Now, I think we'll flip around the hard and the soft stint, so we can use the hard to its full capabilities, go on to the medium, and then go into soft to try and chase down some points there. It's not really a lot of difference between the different strategies, to be fair. And even a 1-stopper here can work with a medium to hard stint like this. I think this is just going to be more beneficial. We can try and do a little bit of attacking on the hard. We'll have a fresh medium that we can do a little bit attacking on. It does come with the risk that what happened in Brazil could happen here too, where a virtual safety car or a red flag gives everyone else a free pit stop after we pitted. But honestly, that is a risk we're just going to have to take. So let's see, starting 4th and 7th, if we can eke out a few vital points there, and if we can keep the board happy enough that I will not get fired after this season. Let's start the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix and see if we can pull out a good result here. And we immediately have an incident here that actually goes in our favor, as for once, neither of our cars are involved. It's actually Sainz and I believe it's Perez that has a little bit of a coming together here immediately. And then Sainz actually touches the Williams. And I believe he actually broke his suspension off that, so... Bit of a weird situation. But for once, crash is not involving us, and actually being negative for our rivals did happen. Now we're running 3rd and 5th. Let's see if we can keep it up until we do pit. Although, Sainz got the penalty there for the collision clause. I thought for a second that we had another incident, and we actually did, Magnus's lockup. But yeah, the goal now is just try and hold on to a podium place here, and at least beat the Mercs in this race. Unfortunately, I was a little bit too hopeful here, as Gasly has been crashed out, and it has resulted in a red flag. A little bit unsure what exactly happened here, but
Red flag.
immediately, after celebrating, Gasly got taken out. I don't
don't
know if he took himself out or if anyone crashed into him. Nope, he took himself out.
With a nasty crash into the barrier.
I don't even
Take is one.
I don't even get how he pulled that off, but he did in fact send himself into the barrier, cause a red flag, and well, it does cause a little bit of problems for us, but honestly, I think our strategy is going to remain the same for the most part, because as you can see, tire-wise, we don't have much of a choice, so we'll just stick with no changes for now. But yeah, that has put us in a bit of an awkward situation, but honestly, this red flag might also make the AI do some silly choices with their tires. Let's see what they've gone on to. Okay, so the cars that had them went for fresh hards, which is good for us. Russell, Leclerc, and Stroll went for fresh, mediums, and softs, which is fine. But yeah, I don't know what we can do here. It's very unfortunate what happened to Gasly. Let's see if Ocon can keep himself in this race so I don't get the boot from the board. And it didn't take long before we had yet another incident with Alexander Albon taking out Tsunoda, but both of them kept on running, I believe. Yep, Albon did in fact survive, so just a little love tap between the team drivers. I'm looking for a word to describe camaraderie. Okay, basically both drivers did a little love tap. That's going to have negative consequences for their confidence, and potentially, hey, we could see more incident. So I'm a little bit concerned. It does help us, but yeah, Ocon now is getting kind of left behind, which isn't too surprising. The others are pushing as well. But yeah, hopefully we will not lose too much time to them. And if Leclerc overtakes us here and acts as a pulley, that will probably benefit us. But yeah, there is a little bit of concern. Hopefully it will not turn into anything serious, as Leclerc does what we kind of asked of him. And Stroll decides to do the same thing. But honestly, running in the DRS train to chase down the Mercedeses is acceptable by my standards. And there is yet another incident. Multiple cars crashed. Crash Derby, I guess we are having this time around. Sainz in yet another incident, this time bumping the AlphaTauri. The fact that Sainz is actually still running is kind of impressive. I thought he destroyed his suspension earlier. I guess I was wrong.
Watch for debris.
But he has had another incident and might actually pick up another penalty here, as he is kind of shoved Ricciardo, but Rick gets that penalty instead. So Sainz is safe for this time around. And honestly, we are struggling here with Ocon. We have fallen behind. We're not far behind, 6 seconds. But we are falling outside of the DRS trains, and that is slowing us down significantly. So in terms of Ocon here, I think what we're going to do is actually pit him as the original plan wanted, as that will hopefully give us a little bit of a chance to catch up to the cars in front. There is an 8-second gap right now, up to 5th, soon to be 9. But pitting early might just give us that little bit of advantage that we need to get up there. And since everyone is pretty close, we should come out in a pretty nice window, potentially behind Piastri here. So I think this is a nice spot to pit in. I hope we come out ahead of Sainz. I believe we will. And as you can see, we come out fairly well placed. 6 seconds up to Piastri, 4 seconds down to Sainz. And that is going to allow us now to take these mediums and hopefully start reeling in some of the top teams. Unfortunately, what so often happens seemed to have happened again, as we do now have a virtual safety car, as Piastri has crashed. Of course, what this means is that any sort of advantage that we'd get by pitting early and trying to reel others in is going to be rendered moot because of the fact that everyone else is most likely going to pit now under the, kind of free pit stop of the virtual safety car, which we'll take a look at in a second.
Positive on the Delta.
So just how much time they save. But we see Leclerc pitting. Verstappen actually goes on. Same with Alonso. So maybe we're good here. Maybe just a few of these guys actually decide to pit. Show Magnussen pits. So it's not the end of the world. We actually do have advantage over them. But if we take a quick look at the reports and what we can expect to save, you can see that a virtual safety car here would have saved you 7 seconds. So if we'd actually gone long on those hard tires, we probably would be in a position right now where we had, been just about, well, maybe not. It's a little bit later than I anticipated. So yeah, it probably wouldn't have helped us. Actually, would probably have hurt us even worse if that has happened. But yeah, you can see here, the hard runners have elected to not pit, and the others have.
Copy.
So I'd say we still have a decent chance here. Let's see if we can hold it up till the end. So we are nearing the end here of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and currently we're actually chasing down Magnussen for 8th, which is unfortunately the best that we can really hope for here. There are some cars that could potentially end up in puncture territory, but they should be fine, honestly, before we get to the end of this. And I think the key right now is going to be to detach Magnussen and Hamilton, to be more precise. And we are going to do just that. Now, if we have a puncture, we still do have a chance to snatch one more, position. But with 25 seconds, a couple of laps to get it done, I don't think we're getting anything more out of this than 8th, which honestly is a little bit unfortunate. But if you look at the bright side, the Williams will not overtake us for 5th. So the board will not, shoot me. And we should be fine still. 25.2s is what we're running. It's a couple of seconds quicker than Paris, but yeah, the laps leave much to be desired, unfortunately. So yeah, I think that is it for this season. There isn't really much to do here. Let's see if we can hold on to 8th or if we crash the last couple of laps here. So Leclerc wins the final race of the season. We have Verstappen 2nd, then the 2 Astons, then Russell, Norris, Perez, and ourselves. And unfortunately for us, Perez is probably not going to hit the threshold where he could get a puncture before he crosses the finish line, which would be 20%. But still, he took well care of his tires and did beat us by 16 seconds. So it is what it is. Not really too much we can do about it. We can only be a little bit frustrated that we had yet another potential point scoring opportunity taken away from us by a silly crash. So then we end up 9th and 10th with Ocon here beating Gasly by 5 points. I still think that we're going to switch Ocon out, honestly. There's just been one too many incidents, I think, and I do believe Gasly has better growth potential. In the Constructors, we do end up 5th place with not a good margin down to Williams, let's be honest, and we got utterly rinsed by Mercedes. We can only pray that we'll do better next season. And in terms of the pit stops here, we did have the fastest one by a couple of tenths. And we are going to be winning the fastest pit stop competition. Although, to be honest, we did sacrifice the pit crew development a little bit here towards the end of the season in order to switch in and out components. So with that done, I want to have a quick look here at the pit crew and how it currently looks. And we're also going to set up pit crew training for the rest of the month because of the fact that we have been switching components a lot. There is actually some tiredness involved, and I think because also how little we gain from a gym session here, we gain 5,000 for a full day of gym training, and then we lose 1,000 going into the next day. So I think we're gonna be happy as long as we maintain 2.5 seconds. It seems the AI is very bad at managing the pit crew, from what I've seen of my saves. So as long as we maintain a 2.5 second stop while lowering the chance of errors or getting car building up, I think that is a very, very acceptable outcome for us, and that is exactly what we will be aiming for here. We'll try our best to get that sorted. But yeah, we basically maintained our pick crew here, 2.5 second, 9% chance of mistake, and we still have another month of training ahead of us. So I'm going to speed up here, we're going to have a look at that, and of course we're also going to get the last few research projects done, and as I mentioned here, we are probably going to be switching out Ocon. It is what it is. I do feel like it's just necessary. Red Bull with a pretty tremendous victory. Formula 2, Behrman wins. Then we have Vesti and Fittipaldi. And yeah, I just think that is the best thing for us. We also have a lot of money in the bank, which is going to be very helpful. So let's jump to this research with the chassis, and then we'll take a look at replacing Ocon. Championship results. Valves offer some congratulations. And they'll do the best of us next season. Please don't. I'm already struggling. Please don't make it harder for me, sir. But yeah, we do definitely need to invest a little bit in chassis. You can kind of see it here, 67, 66, 65. It's not really a good look, chassis-wise. Next year, we probably do need to focus a little bit more on that. And Red Wing here being 80%, side pods hitting 74, 76 across the board. Means chassis does need a little bit extra work. So what we could do here is put 6 engineers on it, and I believe this actually gives us just about enough time that we can do one additional chassis research project after this, provided the finances are on our side. They're just about, so yeah, that's fine. Getting extra chassis research in. In terms of drivers here, as I mentioned, we would love to snatch Lando Norris. He's open to negotiation, so is Russell, Hamilton as well. But I think what we're going to do here is go for Norris. He's just one of those really, really good young talents. Get his accuracy up a little bit, and he'll be good to go. Max out smoothness, and he'll be amazing. So it is a little bit unfortunate that we are replacing Ocon. But let's face it. We are going to have to replace one of our drivers, I think, to have any sort of getting gains, if you will, next season. We still need next season as a development season, I'm 100% sure, in order to have any chance of winning in 26. So getting a better driver in would be beneficial. 21 million, we give him a 50% salary increase. He agrees to that, sign-on bonus. He's very, very happy. I think we'll go ahead and do this. Total cost of hire will be close to 10 million. But again, we have a lot of money. We'll still have 50 million left over after this. So I'm very happy with signing Lando Norris for next season. Alright, let's get the last couple of research projects done here. And as Peckett actually evolves to 88. And Stella is not happy about us snatching him. But we'll see. Perhaps Ocon goes to McLaren. That could be interesting in its own right. But yeah, sidepod research is complete. I'm going to go ahead here and get the last couple of researches done. And then we'll take a look at how well we actually have researched, for those of you curious. Then I think we are going to have to end it for today. Let me know what you think about the new editing style, if you haven't already, as I've decided to try and condense things down a little bit. I do go on tangents. I do explain stuff every now and again, but I think for this series' sake and to get done with it before 24 comes out, I'm probably going to have to condense a lot of races in this manner. So let me know if you like this editing better, and perhaps I'll use it next time as well. For now though, as I said, finish up research, get this season over with, and then take a look at how we did. So this is what we'll do in terms of the pit crew. I'm going to give them a week off for Christmas and New Year's, although I make them do it on 24th as well. It's going to bring our chance of mistake down to 8.25. We're basically about 2.5 seconds. To be fair, we're going to lose some performance going to next season anyway, so we're going to have to recoup that. But I'm kind of happy with where we got the pick for this season, and honestly at this point, we're going to try and maintain something similar to this. Getting it down to 2.5 seconds, getting the chance of mistake down. And honestly, in a couple of seasons' time, most teams are probably going to have 3.1 second pit stops, and we having basically 6/10 on each pit stop advantage is going to help out at least a little bit. So that is the pit crew sorted. Let us finish that research. We have reached our end of season review, and we get a little bit extra money here from the DHL pit stop. The main has low confidence. The board confidence has gone from low to medium. I don't know if I should be happy about that. Suspension sim has also reached level 5, as well as our car park test center, and our 2 final researches here has completed, as we are saying goodbye to Ocon, and our team rating has improved, which is scary. So I'm worried what our next year's goal is going to be, as my team principal rating gets a little bit of a decrease, and we only get 750,000 instead of the usual 1.5 million. So that is, in its own right, a little bit concerning, but it is what it is. We got the suspension sim done on time. It was supposed to be late, but we got a lucky event here that allowed us to increase construction speed and get it done on the 31st rather than the 4th of January. So we'll have the suspension sim from day 1 going into next season, which should help a little bit with the car as well. So we'll take that. Regulation changes, 425. We get a bonus point for pole position. We get less cost cap, and everything has been hit by a 10% decrease. Now, in terms of research, I am going to need to quickly save and reload to see the full extent of it, so just give me a sec. And so it says here on the research that we have done more than enough on the suspension. We actually gained more medium than we did low. We also got some airflow, just a little bit of drag reduction, but all in all, a win. For the underfloor, we have gotten gains across the board, with the exception of airflow sensitivity, which is good. Side pods have gotten a decent enough gain, but we do lose a little bit of the front airflow. We basically kept it where it is with the exception of cooling. Rowing here has gotten a pretty massive upgrade to its cornering capabilities here. 12 on the high speed, 29 and 30 on the medium and low speed. And considering the losses here, this is a pretty significant gain, basically twice as much as we're losing. We've also gotten a little bit of gain here for the velocity, drag reduction, and DRS delta, so the rear wing is going to be a lot better next year. And the same can kind of be said for the front wing. It isn't seeing as big gains as our rear wing, but the brake cooling in particular, alongside the airflow front, should give us a little bit better cornering next year compared to this year. And we have done a good job on the chassis, but it definitely is going to need some dedicated work going into next year, for sure. But yeah, I'd say that is a job well done. We didn't get fired. I did fear that we were going to get fired. The board is disappointed, satisfied. I guess that is fine. So we're going to have to perform a little bit better in the races next year. But it looks like we are fine for the time being. So with that, we're going to end this season here. Thank you very much for watching, and I do hope that you've enjoyed. As I said, I'm probably going to try and edit next season down a little bit like this one. Probably try and get it in 2 parts. But let me know what you think. Maybe I've over-edited this a little bit. Maybe this is preferable to the way that I've done things. I think it's a decent way to summarize races where... Races? Not... Help. I think it's a decent way to summarize races instead of me just reporting the results or showing the final result screen. Get a little bit more of the action as well as our failures. But yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you very much again for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. If you would like the video, that will help me out a ton. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.